Well, it's 3:11. I don't see committee member. Oh, there he is. Okay, great. So we're going to go ahead and take roll, and then we're going to go immediately to public comment. So Chair is here. Committee member Cormack.
Cormack here. Chair Wynn, just a note to let you know that your audio is going in and out a bit occasionally.
Oh, thanks very much for letting me know that. Okay, I'll try and be right in front of the microphone. And committee member Lawler.
I'm present. Sorry, my camera just wasn't on, but I'm here.
Okay, good. So board moderator, would you please take us to public comment?
We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I have activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I will not give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Also, please, one request. You only need to request one time. I will get to you. And if you're on a cell phone, it's *6. If you are on a computer, a window will pop up somewhere on your screen, possibly behind something that you have open, and you need to check unmute me. S would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hello?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Hi. We all learned today that Maximus's contract is up for renewal this December for $12 million. Where does that money go? No recovery service are provided to us. Case managers are overworked with a large caseload, and the number of IEC members is dwindling, and Julie is the only secretary for the entire state of California. The presentation is detailed and makes it sound like they are doing so much for us when in reality they aren't. When I was entering the program, like many others, we heard that drug testing would reduce with the length of time in the program, but that hasn't happened in my 3 years of 100% compliance in the program. Please just stop with the lies. Why are we paying tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket when the government pays Maximus millions to run this program? Who's profiting off of us? There is corruption here. I strongly believe that Maximus's goal is to extend as many of us as they can for whatever BS reason they can come up with, so that they can have enough participants to renew their contract this December. Please consider everything that you have learned from the public and stop using a greedy, for-profit, third-party company who clearly has no concern for the recovery of nurses and the protection of the public. In regards to the oral fluid testing, I was forced to get a job in a rural area over an hour away, when previously my job was 15 minutes from my house. If I were working a consecutive 3 shifts, because it is in a rural area, the closest FedEx is a 30-minute drive away, making it unrealistic for me to use the oral test. In regards to nurse support group, my leader for over 2 years was not a nurse, charged $120 a month, and it was just so obvious that this person only cared about the money. I am tired of this scam and would like to move to a different state, but can't make plans to, because I don't know if I will ever complete this program, even though I have been 100% compliant. The way this program is run makes me sick and almost makes me regret becoming a nurse. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Janelle would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hello, can you hear me?
A little bit louder, Janelle.
Thank you, sir. Is that good?
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. In the past, our clinical case managers have been our best resource to understand what is required of us as participants. We discuss how we're doing, we seek avenues for where we can improve. They've advocated for us and communicated our plan of care in a clear and attainable manner. However, in the last several months, this has devolved into both of us feeling somewhat frustrated and helpless. I have been told on multiple occasions, and keep in mind I'm one of the many, I am well over 3.5 years of perfect compliance, working safely with narcotics and excellent recovery work. And I've been told, quote, I don't know what your recovery plan is, ask the EC. Which, by the way, we cannot do as we are not permitted to ask any questions. I personally have tried and have been shut down. Another super frustrating thing is that we do not know the outcomes of our IECs. We can only rely on our clinical case managers to call and give us an update following the meeting. Lately, that update has not been happening. I've been told CCMs are not obligated to call and provide an update following an IEC. This is particularly frustrating when we do not receive our new one-way contracts until nearly a month following the IEC. We're not given the reason behind why the decisions were made. We are treated worse than criminals. This is incredibly disheartening way to exist in a recovery-based program. None of us know how to navigate our way to completion anymore. Board member Mr. Lawler, respectfully, if I could reach through here and hug you, sir, I would. Thank you for seeing us. This burdensome is the tip of the iceberg for how this feels. For me, it feels like a cruel and severe punishment that far outweighs the crime. Living in this program becomes more and more intolerable every day, which is why, and forgive us for this, we are all here and so incredibly desperate for change and a timeline, and why we're demanding it each and every single time we come. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anthony would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Why is it? Hello?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Oh, you can hear me now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. This headset I have. I'm glad that Maximus is here and the BRN is here, but I have a couple questions and concerns. First, I would like to know who made the determination to cut everyone's IEC meeting in December when they were supposed to be graduating out of this program December, January, and February. Because Maximus has said it's the BRN. The BRN has said, no, it's not us. Ms. Johnson said it's not her. So we're not sure who decided to stop everyone's meetings to get out of this program, for one. For two, is it a requirement that they have to pass narcotics and to have bedside? Because we don't know if this is a rule or not a rule. It's not based on an individual case. It seems like it's blanketed over everybody. So can we get some information on that? And if they are required to pass narcotics and to be bedside, is it based on a month? Can they do it part-time? Can they do it for 1 hour a day, 2 hours a day? What's the actual rules for this? Because no one's giving anybody any clear, direct answers. And for the people that's been in this program for 2, 3, 4 years, they're just looking for a way out. The same way that the people that are on probation have a direct way out. So we beg of you guys, please, some kind of guidance. That's it.
Thank you for your comment. Anna would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, so I know of 2 participants in Maximus who just signed a contract that states it's a missed check-in results in 30 days off work and must have 4 negative urine tests to get back to work. On this meeting, there's confusion on that. So I can imagine for the participants, what 30 days versus 2 weeks. Now, there was 2 examples given of this week, which is great, but what's been happening is it takes 2 to 3 weeks to get on an IEC meeting to begin with. And then to get the response from that IEC meeting, it takes 7 to 10 days, business days. So that's 4 weeks. So yes, 4 weeks total off of work when you can pull some hair, do some blood, and see if this person's actually been using. Mr. Lawler spoke for all of the participants in Maximus for the last 4+ years. Some participants avoid drinking water to prevent a violation of their contract by having a dilute result. People are doing this every single day, but the Maximus diversion program is saying that the board won't budge on that violation. So for the last 4 years, people avoid drinking water to prevent dilutes so they can stay 100% compliant. And there's documentation to prove these people are 100% compliant. Another participant was told that the board determined after their IEC meeting, they needed to fulfill the narcotics access requirement to successfully complete, but that specific requirement would not be put in their contract. If it's not documented, it's not done, right? For years, Maximus has had contracts that have been clearly and thoroughly written so there is no confusion and error, both for Maximus and the participants, but now the participants must abide by written contracts and verbal contracts. So as of this year, participants will be in violation of their program if they do not meet the verbal requirement of narcotics access that's being implemented as these meetings go on, as we speak, as these investigations happen. And then participants, what happened to the contracts? It's not a legally binding document, but if the participant violates this contract, it's grounds for termination and disciplinary action with the board. So what is the point of a contract if it's not going to be written, it's not going to be updated, and everything is going to be verbal that Maximus chooses not to put in the contract? That to me doesn't seem right in any organization, no matter what the situation is. I'm very shocked that the board is okay and
Thank you for your comment. Chris Elf would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Thank you again. Chris Elsa, Nurse Support Group Facilitator for San Luis Obispo. I just want to thank Ginny Matthews for getting this at-home testing out in our area so well, because you're so far ahead of everyone else for this, and just really showing how Maximus is really the advocate for the nurses in this whole thing. I think that Maximus has been getting a really bad rap from this, and I know who works for Maximus. I've talked to them. I know that they're in the nurses' best interest. I don't believe, to my knowledge, if they extend nurses over the 3 years, I think Maximus gets one flat rate for that nurse. I don't think they make anything after 3 years so much. I may be wrong, but I don't think there's any interest in keeping you longer. We all think we know where these changes are coming from, and they're from Shannon Johnson and her committee, that we're getting these 30 days off work with one missed check-in, and why these things are so confusing now is because it's back and forth with Maximus all the time. They're calling Maximus back and forth. Oh, let's change this. Let's do this every day. And Maximus doesn't know what to do anymore. And they're looking really bad. And I really want to thank Ginny and her group for doing such a good job. And also, and bringing Vault on here. I want to just issue one issue, or bring up, the Central Coast has lost several testing locations because of Vault, because they cannot make contracts with anyone in our area that is open 7 days a week. Historically, that nurses paid for their testing through Vault, but then paid the collection sites individually. A few years ago, Vault took the money that was being paid individually at the collection sites and started taking that and added more money to it, so collection fees got even higher, and established this in-network and out-of-network area where you paid higher fees for in-network sites and lower fees for in-network sites, back and forth. And then they would change it monthly and send out new lists, and it got so confusing for everyone. So it's really, Vault has a lot to do with why testing has become difficult, expensive, and really hard to have access to. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Danielle would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hello. I would just like to strongly encourage the board to poll nurses in both the probation and intervention program about their true costs of testing. The figures Ms. Johnson presented this morning grossly underestimate the true costs. I know one nurse who's on probation who has spent over $2,200 in testing in the last 4 months alone. She has maxed out her credit cards and gone into debt trying to pay for this testing. Someone even suggested to her that she sell her home in order to pay for drug testing. This is not conducive to recovery. To be clear, this is not a refusal to test on her behalf. This is not a refusal to participate in the program. It's simply an inability to pay for the testing itself. I would like to make it known to the board that a participant cannot simply log into their Vault account and make a payment. The payments are charged automatically each month by Vault, and the date of the charge is inconsistent from month to month. If Vault wants their money a few days before a nurse is paid, and the money is not in her account, her Vault account is suspended. When this happens, the nurse isn't able to do a daily check-in. So my question to the board, to Vault, and to Maximus, does having limited financial resources really constitute a violation? I don't understand the logic in this. Is being poor frowned upon to such an extent that a nurse will lose her career over it? What happens to a nurse who is 100% compliance in every aspect, in every condition of probation or intervention, but who simply cannot afford to pay her Vault bill on the day they decide to take the money? I don't think that that constitutes a violation, and I don't think Vault should be suspending accounts for financial reasons. I implore you all to look into this matter. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Daniel would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Daniel, are you there?
As far as the communication goes between the participants and the case managers, it is true that Julie, she's amazing. She's probably my favorite person that works there. However, the way it works, we leave a message and then somebody will call us maybe anywhere from 3 to 5 days, and it may not be your case manager. And that case manager will call you. You want to ask a question. And what do they tell us? You have to speak to your case manager. We'll send another message. And it's just a delay. It happens all the time. And as far as Vault, I do have a comment. I do agree that the payments are very inconsistent. I have paid anywhere from $400 to $900 per month in drug testings only. Another thing too is that they have taken out so many of the clinics. They claim it is because they're trying to get better prices for us. However, 3 of those clinics I have personally asked, and they've told me because we are not getting paid, yet our card is being charged every single month. We're losing clinics that we can go to. 50-mile radius in LA, that could be a 2.5-hour drive. It's not easy. It doesn't make it easy for anybody. And my name is Ada Martinez. I am the one that has been in the program for 5.5 years. I have spent almost $40,000 in this program. And 4.5 years completely sober, completely compliant. My last meeting, June 27th, I was declined for completion. No reason given. Again, I am imploring the BRN to please review all these cases that have been completely compliant for years and years, and we are continued to be declined for completion. My program has been extended. So far, my meeting, it's September 26th, but that could change at any moment because that's what they've been doing for the past year. My meetings have been canceled. They have been moved for no reason. And it's mentally exhausting. It's really mentally exhausting. I'm trying to appeal their decision. I don't even know how to go about it because they don't even have a process for that. I have sent a letter of appeal because I believe that I have done everything. I have met all my requirements. I have passed narcotics for 9 months, even though my case manager told me you only need to do it for 6 months. I'm still doing it. And they still didn't clear me. And I'm not sure what Maximus is doing, what IEC is doing, but what my case manager told me is that day, IEC number 04 was not allowing anyone to complete. And my only thought is it's retaliation for us speaking here, and now I'm scared.
Thank you for your comment. Courtney Ivy would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Thank you. First of all, I want to give a great big thank you to David Lawler for bringing up the issue of more hours of the labs being available in the evenings for nurses who do work long shifts. They are working 10 to 12-hour days, and the accessibility of the lab availability is really poor. So thank you for that. And I hope that the board discussion on this issue will continue. It really needs to be looked at. The other thing I want to say is thank you very much to Ginny for her wonderful contribution of the details of the nuts and bolts of the intervention program, how it is implemented. Clearly, there are some issues, as with any organization, but what's been missing for the last 2 years has been a collaborative approach to solve these issues. There's more of a adversarial relationship versus a collaborative, which is very unsettling for me. Anyway, the other thing I want to say is I have heard some absolutely gut-wrenching testimony from professional licensed nurses today. And I only can hope that the board is listening. Intervention is not the program. It is meant to be. It is not the program that the legislation had in mind when they opened a recovery program. Please, please listen to these incredible pleads from these professional people who are very desperate and in need of your help and support. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. S would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. S on your phone, *6 or #6.
You already made a comment. Thank you.
Thank you. David would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Great. First, I'd just like to say that my clinical case manager with Maximus has been my rock. I don't know that Maximus has any ill will for anyone. I think that they're doing the very best that they can. Next, I'd like to just make a point. I particularly have not had an IAC meeting in over a year, even though I've been in the program almost 3 years. And my plan did change 6 months ago or so. My testing was increased from 3 to 4 times a month to 6 to 7 times a month. And when I asked my case manager why that happened, she simply said, well, the board made the change. I've been 100% compliant, didn't have any issues, been working for a year or so. So I don't know who enacted that change, but the case manager said it was the board. I'd like to touch base on vacations. One, I'm grateful we can take vacations. That's part of the program. It's wonderful. But I don't know if anybody it really has an idea of what that entails. If we elect to take a vacation within the U.S., like I have my boys like to take skiing, I feel like I can't really do that because I'm going into the woods and there's no testing sites available. So either I go vacation and I just have to cancel a ski day or whatever the case may be because I may have to test. So it really doesn't allow itself to go on a vacation with the family. So I opt to go on vacation overseas. Why? Because for that 1 week that you're on vacation, you don't have to test. The very problem, though, is when you come back, you're immediately tested for blood, hair, and urine. And as the other individual from Vault mentioned, if there's additional tests that have to be done, now you're liable for the entire cost. So when I came back from overseas, now I have to pay out of my own pocket the full cost of hair, which is $700 to $900, blood, which is $200 to $400, and then a urine test, which is at least $100 to $150. So the week that I come back, or within a short time thereafter, I'm going to have to absorb another $1,000 to $1,500 in cost just because I went on vacation, because I couldn't go on vacation within the U.S. For the reasons I highlighted. Trying to get to a testing site is nearly impossible. I wish the board would, why do we have to be tested blood, hair, and urine when we come back from a 1 week vacation? It just doesn't make any sense to me. Anyways, I am grateful for the program, and I think everyone's working their best to try and get these things rectified, and I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Millie would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Millie?
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. I think one of the problems with the miscommunication is participants always have thought the contractor, which is Maximus, is the intervention program. Maximus is employed by the BRN. So they can't do anything. They can't just up and think, let's make all the participants work before they successfully complete. The thing with going back to work, completing the program, they've had all the participants have had time to fill a toolbox full of ways to manage stress, to not pick up that drink or needle and everything. They send in reports. We get reports. Well, when I was on a committee, we got reports from worksite monitors, nurse support group facilitators, and everything. Shannon makes it seem like the intervention committee members just randomly say, hi, oh, okay, you want to go back to work? That's okay. And I think what almost needs to happen now, because it's gotten to the point it's he say, she say, you need an independent investigation. And I'll tell you another thing that I do know from being an employee of the board, 2 things that the Department of Consumer Affairs doesn't like and the Board of Registered Nursing is negative press. Nurses are contacting me and saying they're going to contact their representatives at the Capitol, which they should, and they're going to go to the news. And we're going to have some really ugly press, if not class action lawsuits. So however that communication got out there that you have to work in patient care before successfully completing the program, although you've dotted all your I's and crossed your T's up until that point, needs to fess up. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Matthew A. would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, good afternoon. I'll try to make this quick. I agree with what participants have been saying, especially Janelle and Anthony early on. There's frustration with the case managers, the lack of transparency, that whole process with the IECs. So I won't go back into that. Participant Anna mentioned, the participants are afraid of drinking water, too much water, because they'll have a dilute. I know participants, I've heard stories from participants that are afraid to eat watermelon the night before because they might be tested the next day, and watermelon contains a lot of water and it might give them a dilute. So it's not just they're afraid to drink water. Their whole lives are affected by this testing requirement and extending them in the program. Another participant I've spoken with, they have to hold their urine for 12 hours during their shift, and then they get off their shift and then they have to test. So can you imagine that, holding all day because you have a fear of a dilute, because they say your first urine is the best sample. And so if you take the chance and void before your first urine of the day, you risk dilute, and with all the consequences that go along with it. So participants are holding it all day just to give a clean sample. And these are participants who have been in the program for 3-4 years, who have been now extended. So they're definitely feeling the pain of this. David mentioned increased testing. That's a common story I also hear from participants, that there was no IEC or that they were in perfect compliance. Next thing you know, they're being required to test significantly more than they have ever tested without ever having a dilute or any kind of compliance issue, or they're required to now go in person meetings or anything like that. So the requirements are being increased without any kind of rhyme or reason behind it, at least none that is told to them. David also mentioned vacations. These are people who are being extended, as I mentioned, 3.5, 4 years in the program, being extended and putting their lives on hold because of these extensions, where the board staff is saying, well, we're not asking the EECs to extend them, and the EEC are saying, well, it's not up to us. The board's telling us these are the new requirements. That's all great, but now these participants are being extended and putting their lives on hold because they're afraid to go on vacation with their family because they might get tested or whatever else when they've been compliant this whole time. So I implore the board to review and release the participants who have met the requirements to date, who have had perfect compliance. I know there's some kind of review going on, but I suggest the board review the entire file of these participants and release the ones as soon as possible that have been compliant along the way. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment. LH would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Thank you. So actually the previous speaker just touched on something. I had a question about what authority case managers have to ask you to do things that are not in your contract and you have not seen an IEC. For example, my case manager just a few months ago, all of a sudden told me all of my NA meetings need to be, at least 1 to 2 of my NA meetings, the 4 meetings I attend a week, need to be in person. And that was out of nowhere. It's not my contract. I have no idea why. It's very difficult for me to do that with my work schedule. I live in a rural area. There are not a lot of in-person meetings that work with my work schedule. I would have to drive an hour or more to get to one. There is only one that I'm able to get to, and I'm very uncomfortable in that meeting. It is all males all the time. I've never seen a single female in that meeting, and that's my only option. So can they do that? I mean, is that allowed? I haven't seen my IEC. It's not my contract, but I'm being told I have to do this. Also, everyone is getting tested at least once a year, getting hair tested at least once a year. I just had mine a couple weeks ago. Is that a new thing? Because again, $700 to $900 for that test on top of the several urine tests I will have this month as well. Is that new? Not my contract. I've read all 28 pages of the uniform standards. I don't see a yearly hair test in there anywhere. Also, I am one of those nurses that Mr. Lawler pointed out had to face consequences for a testing error that was out of my control. And it had to do with having to wait and wait and wait to test, and I couldn't hold it anymore. I've had 3 kids. I had to void, and then I had to drink water, and then I got a dilute, and I was out of town for my daughter's volleyball tournament. I missed 3 of her games that day, and that was the worst part. It wasn't that I had to write an entire essay and read the essay to my nurse support group and then keep a 30-day food journal. It was the fact that my daughter was texting me, "You missed my game, Mom. Are you gonna make the next game?" And I had to say, I don't know. I'm trying. We are human beings. There's more consequences than just, the facts that you're hearing, okay? Also, I just wanted to point out that Sean from Vault gave a percentage of labs open after 5 p.m. Most of those labs close at 5:30 or 6. So yeah, they're open after 5, but that doesn't help the nurses who are working till 7 p.m. Um, so I just would like you to take that into consideration when you're hearing everybody that everything everyone is saying and everything that Volt is saying and Maximus is saying. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Tony would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay, yes. So I have a few points to make. First, just the presentations that have been given today, I mean, can get a standing ovation. I mean, it's just so much smoke and mirrors. There's so many holes, like we can just poke in all of these things. It's very frustrating to get like minute minutes to speak, because there's just not enough time in the day, honestly. What's being presented and what's happening in real life, in real time, is just doesn't correlate. Not on this plane, not on any other plane. It's just not correlating. In terms of Vault, I mean, you know, one of the things that Sean said, oh, we ship the supplies to the labs. Do you know how many times I've been to labs where they haven't had the supplies? Like, it's just, that has cost me, that's been an inconvenience to me to have to go back. I mean, we are already like, most times, most of us work, we're skating on thin ice to go test anyway. The fear of eating, one time I ordered a sandwich and the bread wasn't listed that it had poppy seeds, but by the time it came and I bit into it and it had poppy seeds, I literally almost lost my mind, because that's the type of fear we live in, fear that the poppy seeds could make me test positive for something. So if I don't even know if you guys have seen the list of, things that we cannot, consume, and sometimes so many of those things are out of our control, but I digress. The other big thing that I just want to talk about is the fact that, Maximus, they're not a voting member of the EIC. Supposedly, the BRN is not a voting member of the EIC. However, they're just there to oversee, and they're the ones who make the final changes. And then Shannon said explicitly, she doesn't think that they have vetoed any request, to, for participants to be released. I mean, I'd love to see the minutes of every single EIC committee, just so that we could validate everything that she's saying, because the math is not mathing for me. It's just not making sense. Somewhere, somehow, somebody is, the fingers being pointed at each other. They're saying that Maximus is doing it, and Maximus is saying that it's all coming from the board. And all of these things these rules that are coming down, like so many other participants said, they're not even in our contract. They're not even in writing to date. I haven't been before my EIC in a year and a half. None of this stuff that's supposedly this imaginary stuff is holding me in the program is even in my contract.
Thank you for your comment. JR would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
I just want to bring something up that happened to me. You talk about how you're trying to get IEC meetings, making sure that that people are going to it. 3 months ago, I went to one. I hadn't gone to one before that for over a year and 3 months. They said to have me come back in 3 months. My case manager removed me from the upcoming IEC on August 2nd, stating that I wasn't going to be asking for anything. But that is not true. I am trying to meet all of these new standards that we need to meet, such as working and having narcotic access. I also wanted to ask for overtime, but she still took me off. I begged, I pleaded with her to put me back on. I should be seen every single time, no matter if I have something to ask for or not. I am starting to feel very desperate and very helpless. I have no control over what's happening to me in my life except for staying clean. and I will do that through all of this. But I have absolutely no control over what happens to me on a daily basis when it comes to this program. I want to proceed. I want to graduate from this program. But right now, like I said, I'm feeling very desperate and helpless. It is starting to affect my mental health and my family life. I cannot plan anything for the future because I don't know what is going to be happening with me and this program. I am very thankful for this program. I am clean and I'm still a nurse and I'm very grateful for that. But I feel like I'm being punished at every turn. I have been 100% compliant. I have followed everything my case manager has said. And this is the fourth time I have been taken off of deck. And she states before she was stated that it was because of the board making that decision. This last one, she said it was her decision. When I begged for her to put me back on, she said that she would talk to somebody and figure it out. Still nothing. I have called her every day since so that I can ask to be put back on deck. I have not received a phone call back from her. Please help us. We are very desperate and we are all at the end of our rope. We just don't know how to proceed from here. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. BRN is criminal. Would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Side of things for a DUI that I got before I was even a nurse. So I am here. I get there should be some sort of, follow through. Being in a program for 4 years, it's worse than the actual DUI it was itself in the way I have had to handle things. I work nights. I live in LA. I still have problems finding testing centers. I am sleep deprived. I spend 2 hours on a phone calling centers that don't answer. Vault's list is not up to date. So you are sitting there in my car on the side of the road calling for 2 hours to find somewhere. Then I finally get somewhere. They don't have it. Even though I called, the person left. Oh, they're not here today. Being sleep deprived is just as dangerous as being drunk. So when you sit there and say you're protecting the public, that is just covering your own butt to say that. You are making us a danger to the public when we are sleep deprived and stressed the hell out to high end because we are so worried about pissing sideways, failing a test. Every turn of the corner, my parole officer is threatening me with non-compliance for things that are out of my control. The testing is not. I've been tested several times, 3 times in a week. I was removed off of work. I know other people that are not even working as nurses getting tested 6, 7, 8 times a month with no jobs. I was told to, go get another job. I'm a parent. I would have had to work 2 full-time jobs somewhere just to make up what I make as a nurse. The amount of stress that this program puts on somebody should seriously be considered illegal torture. It is not okay. I am sober because of my nursing group. I am not sober because of the board. If anything, the board drives me to want to just honestly just kill myself sometimes. I think to myself, is this even worth it? I have been through so much trauma in my life and nothing compares. I've been molested, I've been raped, and the board has done more mental trauma to me than any of that has ever caused in my lifetime. There needs to be more than 2 minutes. We are enduring this program every single day. You need to set up a committee that meets with our nursing board, our nursing facilitators. You need to have a bigger outreach to hear these people's cries and to do better. I don't know how any of you can sleep at night. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. P would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. P, on your screen somewhere, there is an unmute me button. There you go.
I was passively listening to this, and I wasn't going to share, but I heard someone speak about the prices he's being charged for urine, blood, and hair testing. Take this anecdote. This is an anecdote. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
I used to work in the rehab field in Southern California, and I'm sharing here anonymously. These are the prices that we would fraudulently upcode and attempt to bill insurance company with 1,000% markup. These are not the actual prices that drug testing costs. $900 for hair testing is abuse. I'd like to know who owns Vault and what the fuck kind of bullshit you guys are running. When we were doing it, it was malice, it was greed, it was fraud. I don't know what you guys are doing. I don't know why private companies during this 1,000 or some date. Why is there a private contractor incentivized to create as much profit as possible in the middle of this? Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Jessica would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, my name's Jessica. I'm a participant in the program. Yeah, something that someone said made me also want to just quickly comment. I wanted to comment, I know we've talked a bit, and I'm sure you guys well understand the lack of communication that we have with our both our IEC and our case managers. I wanted to point out too, an anecdote. We are fairly afraid of retaliation here, and I think I would like to explain a little bit why. We have, I know one participant who was told in her IEC that she would be declined her requests. They would not be granted because she just didn't look happy enough. And for no, I mean, her sister had just passed away and she was in that meeting. And then another that was in the same IEC meeting and was denied privileges for smiling too much. So this is the information we're getting back as to why our requests are not granted. Sometimes it's simply a feeling, a whim, and that sensation of them having total and complete authority over our lives continues even in our conversations with our case managers. Sometimes we're afraid to push for ourselves because of the cold responses we get from them. I understand they're very busy. They don't have time to answer all our questions, but that's also disappointing for us because we have no one else to turn to for answers and no other outreach system. And so everything that's said today, I want you guys to know this is the just scratching the surface. Many of us are not telling the details of what's going on in our IECs, et cetera, for fear of being recognized. I'll say I did used to work for the state. I worked in the California State Prison for the Integrated Substance Use Disorder Treatment Program that Governor Newsom rolled out in 2019. This was a program set up to rehabilitate our prisoners with substance use disorder problems so that they could leave prison without a habit. And of course, that's a way of protecting the community. And I had the same goals here as Maximus does, and it was a wonderful job for me. I saw hope. I saw a lot of beautiful change in people's lives. And I will say one thing that helped us be successful is that if an inmate or a prisoner had a concern, they didn't tell their jailer what they were going through. They didn't tell the peace officer, who also is, you know, in an authoritative position over them. They would file a grievance. It was called a 602 with a nurse outside of our program, entirely outside of, you know, they were not working on their yard. They didn't have authority over them. And then that person would follow up and they would look into it separately. And I think a system like that with accountability where we could have a place to reach out might make these meetings shorter for you, because the reason these have become so lengthy is that we feel this might be our only way to reach out. I'd like to point out, someone said they feel they're sober despite the intervention program. I feel that way too sometimes. I know that at first the testing was something I really enjoyed. I liked that accountability. And since then, none of these subsequent moves have helped my recovery progress. I feel that our...
Thank you for your comment. Nurse 1616 would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Participant in the Maximus program. I got a DUI in 2019. I chose the Maximus program 2.5 years ago over probation because they assured me this was a program of recovery, support, and success for its participants. Initially, this was the case. Over the past year, it has changed dramatically. Prior hearings have heard words like punitive, hopeless, trapped, and frustrated. This is 100% accurate. Constant changes, lack of communication, and zero ability of feedback with the board has left me frightened for my future in this program. My main concern is transition. Without transition period, there's no end in sight. When I first started, there was a transition period for your final year. No one responded to my transition paperwork I turned in 6 months ago. No one brought this up at my last IEC meeting. No one asked me about my recovery or how I was doing. Transition gave me hope, it gave me promise, something to look forward to. The board took this transition period away. I'm holding off on getting married, moving out of state, pursuing my dream job, and ultimately moving on with my life. What this program has given me, though, is the realization I had a problem, I made a mistake. It has given me sobriety and given me my life back. Wasn't this the purpose of this program? It no longer feels that way. I feel like I'm being punished. I've had good compliance, no dirty tests, no dilute tests, no relapse. I'm ready to move on and graduate at the 3-year mark based on my progress and success in this program. I'm a single mother putting a child through college, and this program has created financial devastation. I'm ready to be done, but without transition, how do I know when this nightmare is going to end? And it has turned into a nightmare. The panic I feel every day to check in or I may be placed on a 30-day suspension is unlike any stress I've experienced before. What I can eat, what I can't eat, what I drank as far as liquids prior to testing, all very stressful. I check this website anywhere from 5 to 10 times a day because of this fear. I'm ready to be done. I did all my transition paperwork and was told this is no longer a thing. Please bring this period back so I have an end date in sight. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. KM would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. KM, it's *6 or #6 on your phone.
Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So I have been in the program since 2020. Continuous sobriety. Just had my last IEC meeting. And I do want to say that I'm speaking out in fear of retaliation, but I spoke with my case manager and she told me that everything was good and that they wanted to successfully complete me, but that I needed to have another psych evaluation for that to be done. And when I voiced my concerns about that, she told me to not make a mountain out of a molehill, and that once I had this done, then I could get into the next IEC meeting and be complete. With that comes, more costs. I had my clinical assessment done, paid that extra $225. And when I asked what that clinical assessment was for, I was told it was for something different. It's so frustrating because every time you think that you're at the end of your time and you've done everything that's been asked of you, something else just keeps getting added onto it. And it's super frustrating. And it's very concerning. These are the kinds of comments that are being made of us. And it's not right. Not right at all. So here I am for another 6 weeks waiting because my psychiatrist was on vacation. So anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. But I wanted to
KM, are you still there? Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Wynn, there are no other public requests for comments on the WebEx. Do we have any comments in the Sacramento meeting room?
There are no requests for public comment in Sacramento.
Okay, hold on. We have two more people that got in on the GK would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hey, thank you. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
All right. So this is basically to support two other comments that was made earlier regarding the system change. Basically, I would say a systemic change is needed in the organization because, as somebody said earlier, the previous reporting process was different. It was not the same. Right now, we have only one central head of the enforcement chief, and three deputy chiefs report to that central chief, who is, as per state classification, is a SSM, which is Staff Service Manager 3, and the other deputy chiefs are Staff Service Manager 2. But previously, historically, under Louis, Ruth, and Terry in 2008 or 2007, I'm not sure, we had two separate programs. One is diversion and one is enforcement, with its own separate program managers reporting to the EAO. And they even had support groups. Actually, there was diversion program at support groups to help the nurses. Later on, Ms. Louise Bailey came on board, and again, there was no one central chief. It's at two deputy chiefs reporting for diversion, probation, and discipline, and then it had intake, investigation, and complaint intake and investigation as another deputy chief reporting to Ms. Louise Bailey. And then later on, 2017, it was changed, and we had a one direct chief, still not a central chief, not single chief, but it had one chief, main chief for discipline, diversion, and probation, and another chief for complaint intake and investigation. And in around 2018, under EO Geo Morris, one chief for discipline, just like previously with Lewis Bailey, one chief for discipline, intervention, and probation, and one for complaint intake and investigation was there. So as you can see, there was never one enforcement chief which will control everything, which is technically a conflict of interest. All these programs are, though within enforcement is a separate unit on its own, and they need to be monitored and controlled by different people with different hierarchical structure. We cannot have one person controlling one person. It's not against a person. I'm talking about hierarchical structure that needs to be modified. Is it a cost-saving process? I don't know, but it's not helping the nurses nor the consumer. So the board needs to look into it. Because it's not democratic in the process for the least, with one person taking an autocratic control on everything that's happening under that unit, which is not a level playing field. And regarding contracts, it's hard to believe that one single company has been able to get this contract for sure. And previously, our legal counsel, Raza Tate, it is following the contract process. Raza, please check on the multi-million-dollar fiasco that happened with the DCA when they implemented Breeze. And it was a fiasco to the worst, because as per the auditor's report, the contract language was changed by the people who were implemented at that time. So any contract is viable to change, and a quid pro quo is possible if anybody wants to do it. So I would request all licensees to file a complaint with the Little Over Commission and the auditor to protect themselves from retaliation. And DRN is not the only person using Maximus. There's other boards and bureaus that uses it. So unless you guys.
Thank you for your comment. M would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. That's EM.
Are you able to hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Okay. I am in the intervention program under the mental health only, and I was set to complete the program back in February, and I was not allowed to meet with my DEC, as many others. And at that time, without meeting with them, Jenny has said that they are the ones who are determining our frequency of drug testing. My drug testing has increased to weekly, even though I am now more than 3 years into this program, with no reasoning. I've never once had a positive drug test in this program, and I'm not in it for substance abuse, as determined both by the Maximus evaluator, by the psychiatrist in my IOP that I
saw weekly while I was in that program, and by my separate psychiatrist that I've seen since, who has determined that I've been in remission for now nearly 2 years without not even taking medication. So I have no reasoning for being increased in drug testing. I have no understanding as to why I was not allowed to complete, especially if I am not in this for substance abuse. Why am I being required to go back to work at bedside? I've been a case manager this entire time. Why I will then, after being at bedside without narcotics access, then be required to have it. I'm not sure how that proves that I am safe, when that has nothing to do with why I'm in the program. I also, with these restrictions, I was told to go back to therapy. So both my psychiatrist and then I saw a therapist, both wrote letters stating it is not necessary. I do not meet those needs. And I now have to check in twice a month with Maximus. I've been sent back to support group, again, with no understanding as to what the reasoning is behind any of this. I've been compliant. And I have letters from multiple people, including my manager at work, my community sponsor, my psychiatrist, the therapist, everyone supporting me with completing this program. I also, my restriction is not just narcotics, as that is like communicated to people. My restriction is no mind-altering drugs, which if we look at that, that means I can't give a Benadryl, I can't give an antidepressant. Basically, I cannot give medications. So I can't do an essential function of the job. I'm told by case managers at Maximus, don't worry about that. Really, they're just saying controlled substances. But employers have to go by what the agreement.
Thank you for your comment. Nurse 23 would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
I am a participant of the Maximus program since March of 2021. I surrendered myself to this program and have been in compliance with all my requirements since day one for the past 3 years and 4 months. But now we have no sense of direction, no clear answers as to what's expected of us. Receiving a call back from our case managers takes weeks at a time. And when I finally do hear from her, she can't provide answers to my questions, as she herself has no idea what's going on or exactly what it is that's being required of me at this point. I have worked in dialysis over 2 years now, and I love my job. It is a job that supports my recovery, where I have established benefits, and now I am being forced to find another job that doesn't support my recovery and at risk for losing the job that does. This has caused a great deal of overwhelming stress, frustration, and has been traumatizing. Saying that this program is not punitive is so far from the truth. At my last IEC meeting on June 28th, instead of being considered for successful completion after being compliant with all my requirements, I find out that my case is being referred back to the investigator with the DCA for the initial complaint, not a new complaint. After the initial encounter with the investigator 3 plus years ago, found that being in the program was enough already and didn't feel further action was needed. Tell me what is the purpose of this now, if not for punitive reasons? There is no longer any transparency. It seems that for those of us nearing the end or at the end of our monitoring program, everything we've worked on, everything we've accomplished since the beginning, we are not getting credit for it. It is not being taken into consideration. I ask that you please listen to all of us participants, all our concerns, and stop this madness. In my last IEC meeting in June, no questions were asked regarding my recovery. That meeting lasted 10 minutes. The board says it's up to our case managers and the IEC members, and our case managers say that it's up to the board. And we are just left to wonder, frustrated, overwhelmed, and stressed. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no public requests for comments on the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in the Sacramento room. Would you like to close this window?
Yes, please. Thank you very
Thank you.
much. And thanks for the way you've handled this. I really appreciate it. Okay, so we've closed public comment on item, what item is that? Five.
6.0.
6.0. Thank you. You know, we've heard a lot today, as we have in the past, and we're taking it all to heart. And staff is sitting here, Maximus is here, Vault is here. I think we're all very motivated to find a solution to some of the problems raised. And, you know, we will continue to work on this issue until we do. Lori, I'm sorry, I should ask board member, I need to announce that Dave, board member Lawler needed to leave, and he signed off about 4 o'clock, but we still have a quorum with board member Cormack, and I'd like to know if she has any questions or comments.
No, I do not.
Okay, and EO Melby, is there anything you'd like to say before we close this item?
Just wanted to know if there was any action item that you wanted me to look into from this specific topic. This was more Maximus report out, staffing, and vault testing. And so I wasn't sure if there were specific items that you wanted me to address or look into around this topic.
You know, one thing I would love to, you know, encourage is the remote testing, you know, to where it makes sense, where, you know, people are really in places where they just cannot get to testing. And I've also heard that it's less expensive. So I would like to encourage that also.
Okay. And was there anything, committee member Cormack?
I changed my mind. I went back and looked at all of my notes. We did hear a number of comments that their frequency of testing had increased towards what they perceived as the end of their time in the program without a reason that they were aware of. So I think if we had heard that once, I don't know, but we heard that multiple times today. And so I don't know exactly how you would find how prevalent that is or understand the basis for it, but definitely concerning to hear it more than once, and certainly perplexing that someone who does not have a chemical dependency is being drug tested. I don't understand that. Perhaps there is you know, an explanation that is, you know, makes sense from a clinical perspective, but those parts I don't understand.
Okay. I did get one message from Jenny, and Jenny, you can actually share that if you want to. She mentioned that if they go out of country per the uniform standards, there is increased testing after that. So that is just following the uniform standards at that. So we do know one reason why there would be increased testing, and that's if they traveled out of country. But we can look into any other items that might have occurred, and whether it's uniform standards, whether it's part of the contract, or whether it was something that was additional.
That was decided in 2019 at the committee review of Uniform Standard number 4, and that was one of the 2 changes that they made that year, was to allow travel out of the country, but on return, more intensive testing.
Thank you for that clarification. That's helpful. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close item number 6.0, and we are going to go back to item 2.0, which is public comment. I know we've heard a lot of public comment today. It's been very, very helpful. It does help inform our decision making. This item is for items not on the agenda. So we've talked a lot about you know, the program testing, IECs, how those are made up, but this is for anything that was not discussed already today. So I'm going to open it up for public comment. Board moderator, would you please take us to public comment for this item 2.0?
Sorry. We will be opening for public comment now. Please refer to the screen share for members of the public to see how they should type in their request for comment. I've activated.
As board moderator cues us up, I just want to make a reminder that we will be stopping promptly at 5 o'clock today. If there is massive amounts of public comment, we will have a board meeting coming up in just over a month. And more public comment can be heard at that point for items that are not on the agenda. So that is an option. We do want to hear you. We do want to hear from you. We do want to hear anything, but I really did want to just make sure that we are firm on our timeline today. And we have about 40 minutes for public comment today. Thank you.
I've activated the question and answer feature. Members of the public can indicate that they would like to make a comment by typing into the question box, "I would like to make a comment." Please remember, you will have 2 minutes to make your comments. I want to give a reminder as your time approaches. I do not want to interrupt you nor cause you to lose your train of thought. I will mute your microphone and inform you that your time has expired, and we'll move on to the next member of the public. I'll pause for a moment for members of the public to type in, "I would like to make a comment." Also, again, please be reminded, you only have to request, "I would like to make a comment" one time. Once you make your comment, you get one time. If somebody jogs something that you need and it causes you to have another comment, you will not get a second chance. Sorry. This is a one and done. Tony would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
I just want to reiterate, you know, what was not on the agenda today was, excuse me, this passing narcotics rule to, complete us. I myself have been in this program for 4 years and, haven't been the deck in a year and a half. So, is there any consideration to those of us who have injuries? Like, there's just so much to unpack with that. Also, I want to shed light again on the clinical reassessment and how they're being used. No one is saying that, there's an issue with the clinical reassessment. However, should that reassessment completely trump, all of the other assessments for the people who have been following you for years, for this one-time assessment. And then also, the issue with CRNAs being, unjustly extended as well. There are a lot of things to tackle in the, as we have these meetings, we continue to see, problems and problems and problems. What I'd like to know is there's a lot of, not even communication. There's a lot of talking going on. What I'm not seeing is real strategy. I'm trying to understand how the BRN is really attacking, dealing with these problems, how they're sorting them, how they're prioritizing them. Like, how are we strategically attacking these problems? Which ones are the priorities? Which ones are you trying to get done now? There's only so many of you guys, so those are the type of things that we need to understand. And then as we see, transparency, we really need some transparency. You guys have lost our trust completely. We have no trust in we have no trust in the BRN. I'm actually at the point to where, like, I'm resenting being a nurse. I've been a nurse for 20 years. I had a flawless career prior to one mistake. I mean, a mistake that I made in a small slither of time. And, I feel like I'm paying with my blood at this point, So, what I'd really like to see is, how strategically, how are you guys attacking these issues? How is it going to be fair? How can it be transparent for us to, for you guys, for us to feel like we can trust what you're doing? Because right now the trust is gone.
Thank you for your comment. Jessica would like to make a comment. 1 second, please. Jessica, go ahead. Jessica, are you there?
Excuse me, can you hear me now?
There you go. Go
Oh,
ahead.
sorry, microphone issue. Yeah, hi, I'm Jessica. I'm a participant in the program. Thank you for allowing me to speak today, and thank you for your time. I know that you guys have been dedicating a lot of time to us recently, and it is recognized. I wanted to make a quick comment about the narcotic change. I just wanted to point out for those members of the board who are not nurses, you may not understand exactly what this means, but the fact that they're asking us to pass narcotics, but start out in a job where we are not passing narcotics is and it's somewhat insane. So if you have a job that requires narcotics, and these are jobs like working in, you can imagine the emergency room, in the ICU, in the ER, etc. These are going to be jobs that require narcotics. And in order to get granted a job like that, you have to fulfill the minimum job requirements, one of them which is you pass narcotics. I'm sorry, I'm not making a lot of sense today. I had to test, so I had no caffeine all day, and I have a massive headache. What I'm saying is it would be equivalent to having a desk job and telling that person, hey, I'm applying for this job, but I will be illiterate for the first just an unknown amount of time until someone grants me access to my literacy again. We're telling these people, please give us this job, but I cannot perform the basic job duties, and one of them is passing narcotics. So the types of jobs that will accept someone like this who does not have narc access, but then eventually they will have narc access possibly, is going to be a nursing home, and that might be about it. Something very, very, very with very little resources, and something we probably don't want to work in. And the other thing I don't know if we've thought about is what happens to these nurses who wanted to have a desk job, a case management job, and they were forced back into bedside. And anyone can white knuckle it for 6 months while they know they're being monitored. Then Maximus is going to leave. And this might be a nurse who never would have gone back bedside at all for any reason ever in their career. What happens when we just leave them? I think that this is an oversight. And again, in the uniform standards, as you guys know, it is dictated that as long as we have 75% of nurses not returning to the program, not relapsing in 5 years, they consider that a success. So I don't know why at 90 we're making such a massive change. Sorry, my thoughts were not clear today, but I just want to point out it's going to be hard for us to find these patient care jobs, no access, that will somehow transition into access. Nothing like that actually exists. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comment. Anthony would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All right, I'm gonna make this short and sweet. By the next meeting, if possible on the agenda, if we can have a clear understanding on this passing narcotics rule and also on this bedside rule. If one, we can decide, is this mandatory? Two, what if nurses cannot physically be able to do this? Are they excluded or will they be in the program forever? And three, if we can get a direct answer on who implemented this. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Janelle would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hello, am I speaking loud enough?
Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Thank you, sir. I just want to echo what Mr. Else said and another participant, David, who had said, I fully agree. The Maximus is doing what they're told to do by their client. They're doing the best they can to support us. However, it is your board's enforcement division and Ms. Johnson in particular. I would like to remind all the members of the EIIC what was said at the last BRN meeting in June. It was clearly stated by former and current EC members, former clinical case managers, nurse support group facilitators, and even the former program manager that these requirements are coming from Ms. Johnson or the enforcement division. It's your division staff that's responsible for this, not Maximus, not the IECs. Please stop shifting the blame. It's wasting time, precious time. As I mentioned this morning, there are participants who are feeling hopeless and powerless. We heard them just in the last the comment section. As someone who came through this program or came into this program, I have experienced suicidal thoughts and plans. This is a huge neon flashing red flag. If you are one of the participants I just mentioned, please know you're seen, you're not alone, and you matter. please feel free to email us for support, anonmaximusparticipant@gmail.com. As Millie indicated, we are getting louder and seeking different avenues to be heard. How much louder would you all like us to get? What needs to happen for all the changes, retaliation, and trauma to stop? How many more discussions or meetings is it going to take? Thank you all to the board and the EIAC members here today for listening to us. However, we need action, preferably before someone gives up their fight. Lastly, board moderator, you are a rock star and a gentleman. I don't think we give you enough credit for what you do. Thank you so much for your service.
Thank you for your comment. Danielle would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi, this is just a quick comment. I wanted to remind everyone who is present on the other side of this meeting that your cameras are on. Specifically you, Miss Matthews. It's been very apparent that you have been doing other things besides listening to these participants. I don't know if you're catching up on emails or putting together a presentation, but it's very disrespectful that you're visibly doing something else other than listening to these participants pour their hearts out. For those of you who have paid attention, it has been noticed. We want to thank you for that. And for those of you who have seemed distracted, shame on you. Have a great day.
Thank you for your comment. Daniel would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
This is the third meeting that I have participated in, and it's all talk. There's no changes. Nothing is really happening. Things are still the same. Retaliation is still happening. Ginny she's so sweet. She's trying to help me as much as she can, but I know her hands are tied. And I'm shame on the IEC. I'm very shame on the VRN for not advocating for us. And just a side note, I myself have been injured physically by these drug testings. I ended up in ICU with pyelonephritis because of this. I have also ended with kidney stones in the hospital for holding my urine. And the fact that you are taking all this so lightly that nothing is happening, it's very shameful. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Anna would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
You know, I'm walking away from this meeting for myself, my sister, my family, a lot less hope every single time I come to these meetings, because there's meeting after meeting and we're working on it, and I'm sure that all of you are, but in the meantime, the diversion program is just enforcing whatever they want to enforce until we get to a place where something is resolved. You know, if it's going to be a 3 to 5 year program with 100% compliance, let's make it clear that that's achievable. And what I'm seeing is that it's not that case anymore. That despite 100% compliance, it's going to be more of a 4 or 5 year program, 5 at the most. And the excuse is, you know, these uniform standards. And so just eliminate the 3 to 5 year possibility. Just say it's going to be a 5 year program. That's digestible. That's achievable. That's clear. But, you know, don't keep, you know, using the carrot to string us along here. It's like somebody else mentioned, it's not just the participants that are suffering through this, right? It's their families, their children, finances. Somebody mentioned, you know, if you're poor, you can't get through this program. And that's very sad. That should not be the case for any person in this program. And, you know, we're just going to have a lot of acceptance around the fact that nothing's going to change. Maximus is going to continue to do what it's doing. And when most of us, you know, are able to, and when these participants get out, maybe they'll be, you know, involved in the legislative process and make a difference on the other end, because, you know, nurses can come together and make changes, and you know, maybe some of these nurses will complete and become part of the legislative process that is not happening right now, but that can happen in the future for those that come into the program, for an actual recovery program, right? Not an enforcement or punishing program. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Millie would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Thank you. At the May board meeting, this item was for information only and possible passage by the board to make it a requirement for all nurses to successfully complete to do this patient care. There's nowhere that I've heard that by making that a requirement, it's going to guarantee a nurse that does complete is not going to relapse. Relapse is part of recovery. So I think this is what needs to happen. That directive came prior to Shannon bringing it before the board to get it approved. So any nurse that's hanging in limbo that had completed all of the requirements and was due to complete should be allowed to do so. I've worked for the state. I know everything happens in snail pace and everything, but this is putting people's lives on hold since May, unfairly. I appreciate Jenny, I appreciate the board, and I hope you come to some reasonable decisions quickly. And one other thing, at the beginning of August board meeting, you might want to say, if you're postponing things, tell people up front so they don't have to wait till the end of a agenda to make their points. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comment. Matthew A. would like to make a comment. 1 second, please.
Hi there, good afternoon, and thank you for your patience all day. It's much appreciated. First, I want to say a big me too for Janelle's comment, to thank board moderator Mark. Thank you, Mark, for your service. This question, I guess, is common. I'll direct it to EO Melby, since she's the one I mentioned doing the audit, but for any type of review or audit that's happening supposedly now, when will the participants know the results of such an audit? Are they going to have to wait months? Are you going to discuss it at the next board meeting? You say, well, we have an audit, we've done an audit, and we're going to tell you the results at the following board meeting, and now it's 6 months later and the participants find out what the audit is. Are you going to tell the participants ahead of time? Do they have to wait for an IEC? I just want to know when these participants should expect the results of an audit, that if the audit shows that, yeah, in fact, they should have been completed because they've met, X, Y, and Z. They met all the requirements. They're deemed to practice safely. Are they now going to have to wait 6, 9, 12 months before that information gets to them? Where does that go? Thank you so much.
I'll jump in real quick and just answer that, just because I know that this was kind of talked about throughout the entire meeting. As much information that I have come August meeting, it will be presented at the August meeting. If there is additional layers that are discovered, I will need additional time to look into that, and then that will be presented out at another meeting. But you guys will have the information that I have come August.
Thank you for your comment. Committee Chair Nguyen, there are no public requests for more public requests for comments in the WebEx. We have no public requests for comments in Sacramento. Would you like me to close this comment?
Yes, please. Thanks very much. Well, we've had a full day. We've heard a lot of public comment. We've heard some really helpful presentations. EO Melby and staff have their work cut out for them. I know they'll be working both with Maximus and Vault in the next several weeks before our August board meeting. Board member Cormack, is there anything that you would like to add before we adjourn?
We did not talk today about it's not clear to me if it is a requirement, the perceived requirement that everyone have to pass narcotics before they complete. So is it the staff's plan to revisit that in August with the results of the audit to date?
Yes,
Yes,
I can
okay.
report out all of that information. That's a priority, and I'm working with legal on language so that we can get it agendaized and get that moving forward. And then again, all the information that I have to that date, I have got what, 4 more weeks to get that together. But only like 2 weeks until it has to be in the agenda and going through and getting approved by legal, etc. But we will, I'll just continue with the audit and continue to update materials as we get them and get that out to you guys as quickly as possible.
Okay. I know, it was on our board meeting last month for action, but, it wasn't sufficient. Despite the overwhelming public comments, there wasn't sufficient information about the necessity, requirement, validity, how that, does that happen in probation? Is this case specific? Is this really something that we should be deciding at, the board level? So hopefully that'll all be, elaborated upon, and we'll be in a position to make a well-informed decision next month. Thank you.
Yeah, the other thing I would love to maybe just have you do a little bit more research on, Lori, in your spare time. That's a joke. Is this, giving up 30 days of work if you miss a check-in. So again, board members tend to be a little bit more familiar with probation because we read all the cases. But if you miss a check-in on probation and you go and test immediately the next day, it's almost a wash. I mean, it's kind of a forgivable offense. I mean, you have to do something, but and it seems so as board member Cormack calls it kind of the zero tolerance, and I just feel like in diversion, zero tolerance isn't the best model.
I agree, and I think that was actually discussed earlier today as well. I know that was something that was brought up, and I believe Jenny had shared with me that was no longer a requirement, that it's not an immediately off for 30 days with a missed call-in.
Okay.
And I believe Jenny reiterated that when she did the presentation and said that Shannon had requested that to be clarified and stopped. And so my understanding is, as of, I think I heard about it a week ago, Jenny, that was acted on immediately and immediately addressed. So there has been action that has occurred, obviously in between meetings as well, that we do want to make sure that we highlight, and that was one of them. And I got a thumbs up from Jenny, so I'm hearing that I accurately reported that.
Great, thank you. Anything else that we need to talk about before we adjourn? Okay.
I don't believe there is. I do want to make one kind of announcement, just because. And so all the comments today about our board moderator, thank you so much, Mark. He is the voice of the meeting, but I did not want to let it go unnoticed that we have another staff that helps him behind the scenes, and you don't hear her voice and you don't see her on camera or anything, and that's Jennifer Roseberry. And so he would not be able to do that by himself, and they make an amazing team. So when the public is saying kudos to you, Mark, they're also saying kudos to Jen. So, and honestly, these have been meetings that our BRN is not used to participating in. Usually our meetings go fairly quick and they're usually fairly positive in nature. And it is definitely a change, and we want to make sure that we jump on this right away. I know coming from private sector, I was a private sector employee going into public sector. It feels like you're not doing it fast enough. And I agree, that's exactly what it feels like. But honestly, with the scheduling of meetings, with getting everything arranged, with managing through everything, we are on it, and we are moving it as quickly as I've seen anything move through public kind of forum. And I know, and I'm a nurse as well, so I understand, like, as soon as you get on it, you want to jump in, you want to get it going, you want to get fixed. And that is exactly what we're doing, but it just doesn't look like that to you guys, because public versus private is a very different beast. And we are managing through it. So thank you guys. And thank you all, BR and staff, for helping out during these meetings. There'll be more to come.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you all very much. We'll see you in August. We're adjourned.